Here we are in the world famous International Telford Centre. I'm joined here today with two very world famous people. On my left, legendary trainer manager Mr. David Coldwell. On my right, agent manager, person of boxing.
Thank you, Kalle.
See you everywhere these days. Mr. Sam Jones. Welcome, gentlemen. I think we've got a fantastic night of terrestrial television boxing. The promoter gives back, right? Channel 5, Friday night. It's all set up. It's a venue that we as a family, Sauerland family, have history with. 25 years ago, let's check some boxing knowledge here now. 25 years ago, Richie Woodall defending his WBC, there we go, WBC super middleweight world championship against the late and great Marcus Bayer. Bayer was, I think it was a mandatory at the time, came out, was 22 years old. Frank Warren promoted show. We did a deal with Frank, kept the German rights, came over here. But it was a Richie Woodall hometown fight, and no one expected much of Bayer.
Sure.
He's knocked him down early. I remember Bayer's knocked Woodall down. Second knockout, we think third knockout. Me and the old fella have jumped in the ring because ref's gone. He's done one of. We've seen it as this fight over, but from the angle it was more like this, unfortunately. Okay. Especially after a few pints in Telford that night. I wasn't working. We're in the ring, and it's all kicked off in the ring, and they've had to stop the fight, and then they luckily continued the fight again, and we ended up having
Eddie Hearn against Nushin.
This was much work. This was much worse because. I wasn't suited and booted. I was in a horrible yellow Ralphie shirt, and
wow.
I was as I said, I was there as a fan, not as a promoter at the time. But great memories of that night, just the atmosphere that Telford creates. And here we are, Friday, live on Channel 5 for the world to see on DAZN as well, of course. European Championship, Brit against a German. I've got to be careful here, my Anglo-Germanic roots.
Yeah.
But it's all set up, isn't it? And, Dave, I'll turn to you as a trainer. What do you... We all know Sam Eggington. We all know the man who don't know reverse gear.
Yeah.
But what have you seen, and what do you think about Abass, and how do you see the fight tactically playing out?
Do you know what? Abass is a very good fighter. It's not something that I've kept my eye on until I saw this matchup, because I heard people talking about this is going to be a great fight. I was like, really? And then I had a watch of him, and I love his style. He's my kind of fighter. He's got a very good jab. I think he's very fluid. He's fluid. He's got a great jab, good body puncher, picks his shots really well. I didn't realise at the time, I then saw that he's working with Adam Booth and the guys down there. Then I was like,
you obviously have a big history with as well.
Yeah, obviously we're working with Adam. I know Adam doesn't get involved with fighters unless he really thinks something about them. So I like his style. He's got a relaxed style, but he's very, very spiteful, and he's looking to break you up all the time. The fight that I watched of him, I forget the opponent was, went about 5 rounds or something like that. But it was what he was doing with him. He's just opening him up, punch picking him, picking up the pace, dropping back down, picking up the pace, switching up, body and head, feinting the jab downstairs to bring the right hand over the top. He's very, very clever. And there was a point in the fight where you could hear Adam's instructions, and he's literally following the instructions just like that. I love that in a fighter.
Do you think that's a lot to do with his amateur pedigree? Obviously, in the early days, he also trained as a pro with Uli Wegner. Remember the general from Germany? And if you didn't listen to Uli, he would be in that ring and showing you how it's done. So you can, as a trainer, that part is something. Does it help the amateur background?
But again, it depends on the coaching in the amateurs. There's some amateur coaches that aren't very authoritative. But with Uli, you knew that he was. So that's what I'm saying, is you've got that where where you're doing what you're told straight away, what's rehearsed straight away. The trainer spots something, tells you, and he does it. And he'll have, brought that into his arsenal with Adam. And obviously the trust there with Adam, because he knows that Adam's a top coach as well. So you can see that they're gelling. I then watched a fight of his a little bit older from a couple of years back, and I don't know how long Adam's been working with him. I noticed he's still got the boxing booth badge on his shirt, so he was with him. But I could then see the development from 2 years ago to now. Now, 2 years ago, when I watched him in that fight and it went the distance, I thought, it didn't look special. I thought it's good, but kind of like that same sort of level, sort of prospect that you'd think probably get to a fringe sort of world level, and that's about it. Watching him on that fight, judging him on that fight, I don't know whether after watching the two fights, he likes things at his own pace. And that's where Sam Eggington comes in with his style. Sam can't afford him to be at his own pace, where he's picking his shots and he's putting them together and he's just pecking with a jab, up, down, up, down. He can't afford to do that, because otherwise he will get bust up. He's got to get on his chest. And from the two fights that I've watched, I think that's his best chance, where it doesn't allow him to be comfortable in the fight. And that's what Sam's good at. That's what Sam's great at, in fact. That's what we know Sam about.
So, Ladbrokes have it 50-50. Got to put you on the spot here.
I would say on the progression of from the two fights that I've seen, the stage, and I don't mean this to be disrespectful, but Sam's had a lot of hard fights for a lot of years. He's the kind of guy.
Still only 30.
I saw Sam Eggington's only 30, and God bless him. He's a great guy, but I was thinking, you're only 30. I'm not saying he looks old, but I'm saying you've been around forever.
So long.
And you've been involved in some...
But
every fight of Sam Eggington's is a bar.
Stat for you. He's 30 years old, already won Fight of the Year twice over here. Twice. At the age of 30. To have been two fights.
I'm surprised it's only two, if I'm perfectly honest with you. That's not really shocking.
I thought there was a few candidates as well. But that for me, that's phenomenal. I mean, he's going for a hat-trick on Friday night.
Yeah. Any fight that Sam Eggington is involved in, you're always like thinking to yourself, well, you just know what you're going to get.
Yeah.
You're not going to get like, oh, can he approach his tip? Sam Eggington, I don't even think he would mind me saying it. He fights one way. But
there's no reverse. There's no reverse.
There's no reverse gear. Like you've played a blinder here. Get him this fight, because the people that are tuning in on Channel 5 on Friday are going to be in for a fantastic fight. I think Abass is the classier of the two. I think he's the better of the two. But you just don't know yet. Can Abass cope with what Sam can bring? Can he get into the second half of the championship rounds, and can he cope with the pace of what Sam Eggington's going to do out? Because you know what he's going to bring, you know what he's going to have to prepare for, and I'm not sure who's coaching him. Is it Charlie Beat that's coaching Abass now? I'm not sure.
He's working on it.
Those coaches there, well. they'll have him prepped, and they'll have been drilling. And
I mean, he's worked with some phenomenal trainers. We got Ollie Wegner, Adam Booth, obviously Charlie, and working in the States now as well. But at the same time, it is that moment, like the way both you are talking. If this was on the street, we'd all go Sam Eggington.
Yeah.
But this is boxing.
Yeah.
So, again, 50-50 fight. The next words out your mouths is a name.
I'm going. I'm going to go Abass.
No, that's the rules. No, this one you never name. No, it's either the next word has to be either Eggington or Baraou.
Baraou for me.
But Baraou, like I wasn't going to fence it. I think
no, now the explanation, of course. No, I just wanted to get straight to the point here.
Okay.
I'm not going to say what I think, because I'm slightly
you can't do that to me and Dave and say not give your opinion.
I've just signed a multi-year deal with Abass, so of course I'm going to say Baraou.
Well, there you go. It's a hat trick.
It's a hat trick. There we go. So 3-0. So Ladbrokes, you got it all wrong, right? And if those odds are still valid, if you're at home,
I'm jumping on the
Ladbrokes. Put your house
in a minute.
Put your house on Baraou. Okay, let's move to the card. So before we get to your guy, who is a phenomenal talent, but the story of Matty Harris, and this is what takes me. Unfortunately, this is my 24th year as a promoter. The amount of times and I'll be interested to hear from you two on your experience around this. Forget that it's Matty Harris, but how often have at the beginning of a career when when you sign a crop of fighters, we normally do a cycle. We'll sign 5-6 fighters in a go, and I'd always think out of 6, probably 1, if we're good, 1 will make it to a European level.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, there's those that you can write off probably after 2 or 3 fights already, and then there's that group that they need that moment. Now, I was over in Nashville, and we had we had a show in Nashville, and we had a show in Edinburgh the same night, and I've got this WhatsApp, Matty Harris by KO, and I'm just thinking, he's blowing another one away, isn't he? So then I'm looking on Twitter, so then it's like unbelievable shock, and like, what he's got, and it was a step up. It was a minimal step up from the bus drivers he'd knocked out before, which again, you at the beginning of a career, you want those viral moments, especially for a heavyweight, especially for a heavyweight, especially in the day and age of social media, for your confidence, to give you that time to work on in the gym with the trainers. But this isn't just Matty, but I wasn't disappointed. I wasn't like sad.
It was a good thing for him.
I was so angry. Because at that moment, you've gone out there, you put them on, you've got them those knockouts that build their confidence.
Yeah.
But they've taken that, and I saw Marino around ringside all day. And to be fair, it's part of the job is to go to events and make yourself. You're great at that, Sam. But to market yourself, that's what it is, though, isn't it? Especially in this sport,
day and age we're in.
But there's a danger of believing the hype, and that's in my eyes. That's what happened.
100%.
As a coach manager, you must have seen this.
So what I say to my fighters, I've said it to Dan. It's my job. If I'm managing here to help with your profile, it's my job. It's his job to talk crap about you. Don't listen to it. You don't listen to it. Your promoter, your manager, they want to get your profile up there. They're going to say, we're ready for this, we're doing that, right? But it's your job not to listen to it. And then my coaches are. So we've had the conversation about him. 100%, right? We had the conversation about him.
I've got a question for you in a minute.
After the fight, when Sam starts going off on and doing what Sam does, I says, in that ear, out that ear, do not listen to it. I get what you're saying.
But you have to protect your man.
Yeah, because the kid can believe in it, right? And if the fighter believes in it at that stage, believing it to an extent where they take their eye off of what it actually takes to get to that stage, what everybody's talking about, that's where the danger is, and that's where they get found out.
So, over to the
mouth.
master of creating stories. You're great at building up your fighters, and that's
thank you, Kalle.
That's something that you've got to do to the promoter and ultimately to the public as well.
Yeah.
Do you make a point of actually sitting with a fighter at certain times and say, look, I'm going to go out and say this. I'm going to say we're going to knock out Canelo in 1 year. But do you just believe that you just go with the flow on it?
It's not just a case of that, but unfortunately that we are living in a day and age where people want to see confidence. They want to see fighters moved at a certain pace. And we'll go back to Matty. Matty's a really good fighter. I've watched Matty spar Joe Joyce. I've watched him.
He's got it. Matty's got it all.
Matty's physically got it all. I think whether it was a question whether was he doing the right things outside of camp, and I think he's addressed that now, and he's gone with a very experienced coach who I know very well, Peter Fury, and I think that Peter's the type of character that will bring that out of Matty. So going back to him, I won't worry too much about that loss. It will just be a little blip on his record. I think he'll go on to do really good things. Genuinely, I like Matty as well. I'm
buying it all day long.
He's a good kid.
He's for me.
I've watched him spar. I've watched him spar some of the prospects.
The fact that he's managed to see Peter, convince Peter to take the job.
Yeah, for sure.
Is already testament to Matty. So I look at that as
Peter likes a heavyweight though.
Peter loves a heavyweight. But I would say he's also, when you look at the big night for Tyson Fury, rewriting the heavyweight scene as it was that night in Dusseldorf not so long ago, that was a big part down to to Peter Fury's tactics as well.
Absolutely.
I mean, I don't know, Kubrat Pulev, Povetkin, David Hay, of course. We so many times tried to topple the Klitschko's. The tactic was always, well, that's that chin, isn't it? Yeah. It's that chin. And for 10 years, people tried to hit that glass chin that Emanuel Stewart, the late great Emanuel Stewart, taught him how to protect and basically create an invisible barrier around it. You couldn't reach it. It was whether it was snatch and grab. We can name up all the different tactics you use. But Peter Fury that night was the first one to say quite a simple move, but no one else had thought about it. Actually, just go do your thing, box, and he boxed his ears off for 12 rounds.
Bamboozled him.
There was even when he could have had him, he didn't
go.
Didn't unleash him. Okay, you need a guy like Tyson as well who understands the sport to not go for it, despite you see that moment of glory. It's difficult to hold him back, isn't it? So for me, it's interesting that he's gone to Peter, a trainer who's got a lot of experience. But where can Matty Harris go? What do you see as his attributes, physical attributes?
I would take it step by step with him. It's an English level. Go through the. He's young. He's a young kid, so stages.
100%. But who do you see now at British level? Because it's mixing up very nicely. You've finally got Wardley Clark.
Yeah, good fight.
You've got Adelaide who's lost. You've got a few other names, but who do you see as that new British level scene? Because we've got a few departed. We've got a few who've, let's say, gone up. Dubois now absolutely world level. We're
talking about British heavyweights here.
But if you looked at 2 years ago, you'd definitely say
there's some
Dubois,
fantastic.
Joyce,
there's Moses Atauma. He looks the part. I've seen him. I've seen Matty spar him. Believe me, and it was a great spar. I've seen Matty spar Moses Atauma. It was a very good spar. Johnny Fisher.
Boxer,
you see the younger crop coming through. You look at Moses Atauma, Johnny. Matty, he's gonna get his confidence back.
Johnny
I'm
Fisher,
sure he'll be straight back in the mix as well. It's
exciting though. That's
very exciting. And hopefully they fight and fight each other as well.
Yeah, and I think exactly. And hopefully it doesn't take a year to make a British title fight.
Oh no.
But at the same time, I do think there is a vacuum by these names that have either gone on, let's say, retired or left the contention, and the ones who progressed. Because the beautiful thing, and I've promoted boxing all over the world in so many different markets, the British market, forget America, is unique in what you say there. I brought through 7, 8 world champions, heavyweight world champions from scratch, but we've had to go through doing it a very different way than in the UK. In the UK, you have that tool, that British level tool of, okay, this is where he's at.
Yeah.
And it's a beautiful thing. That's why for me it's fascinating to see who one expert and one expert who's a very vocal expert, who is next in that. And that I mean, Moses 100%, Johnny Fisher. Anyone else to throw in the mix there, David?
To be honest, that stands out. I would say for me it's Moses. I think he's the one that, because the level of activity that he's getting,
doing the right things as well.
He's getting the right sparring in. It's the level of activity. And I look at Mate and I think if he's learned now, he's got to have learned from his mistake. You know that he's learned, because otherwise, like it was said, Peter won't put up with it. If he was showing any traces of his old habits, Peter won't put up with it. No, he don't need to. He don't need this game. So I take it as the values that, right, he's learned from his mistakes. With his physical attributes and his boxing ability, he's a very good fighter.
He's massive.
Let's not forget, it wasn't like he was exposed because of his chin. He gassed out.
He was exhausted.
He was absolutely gassed out, and he was still taking big shots when he was gassed out. So I look at Matty, and I look at he's a kid that's got the potential with activity, and what I like as well is the problem that I have is with prospects and promoters is that they love him. He's a great prospect. He has a bad night, gets beat, they discard it. The fact that he's not, and he's got a platform where
I think he's an experienced promoter.
Yeah, but it's down to what? No, because
Okay. Heavyweights always get a bit of a better rap. I'll give you that. I'll give you that.
But the fact that he's got a platform and a promoter who's willing to bring him back and keep him active and build him up again, while he's got a great trainer in Peter Fury as well, I think he's got all the ingredients there to learn from that, come back as then in a year's time we'll be having a discussion, talk about him being potentially the future of the division.
Right.
Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Because
I find the general discussion, not just Matty, but discussion sort of moved on to the heavyweights. Everyone's talking about, that the big fights that we always wanted to see are now on. But it's quite an interesting view to look at what's happening at that level, because we've got Wardley Clark.
Yeah.
It's a great fight.
It's Solomon Dakers against David Adelaide on that, is it?
Yeah, that one as well. But I think the loser of Wardley Clark, they're not out.
No.
They'll drop back into this league. Yeah? And the other one will probably progress to the world.
Yeah,
not saying that the other one, the loser,
no, agree
eventually either. But it's fascinating. Moving on, Dangerous Dan Toward. Have we got? Sorry, I'm going to start with you. Have we got a proper fighting name for Dan Toward?
There is a few in the locker. Yeah, might have to say.
So how are we going to sell him now? So are we going to go on the 10 amateur national championships? What's the? Come on, you
10 times Dan.
10 times Dan.
Dan 10 times.
So Dan Toward.
Dan 10 times Toward. Yes, that's the name.
I'm sure you got a few in your locker.
Triple T.
Sell him to us. Sell him to us the way you sold him to me.
Don't need to sell him to him because
I know, but I'm saying this genuinely. No, the fact these are not Sam Jones facts. These are actual facts. You can look them up.
These are actual facts, and not ones I'm just pulling out of my.
The car does
back
have
pocket.
The car does have leather upholstery.
Yeah,
it is genuine leather.
Exactly that. No, with him, it's not just. The best thing I like about that is his temperament. He's very mature for his young age, and I'm sure Dave will concur with that. Now he's training in Dave's gym. He's got credentials, amateur credentials. It was just more the fact that developing as a professional, and I think he's doing that at a rapid pace now with Dave. I think he's special, genuinely. That's not me spouting the promotional spiel. It's not you. I do think he's I think he's special.
It's quite interesting. Before I bring you in, Dave, we were sitting watching Dan fight up in Sunderland just before Christmas, and we both said, his team's a fantastic team around him, but of course, on the professional level, when you want to get to that next, let's say, learning new areas of the game, which is needed in every walk of life, especially in boxing. Yeah. We were saying, who can we bring in, weren't we?
We was looking at it, and listen, it's a hard conversation to have because look, Dan's been at that gym I think since he was an 8-year-old kid. So
that's the DNA.
Yeah, that's the absolute DNA. And look what he's achieved in that gym. Yeah. He's achieved great success. But I think it wasn't more just the coaching; it was more getting out of your comfort zone.
That's what I mean. Adding to the armor.
He lives in Rotherham now. He lives in Rotherham, and his sole focus is not anything else. No background. It's training with Dave Coldwell and training at the boxing science in the evenings or whatever times he does that. It's sole boxing, and I just think you're very lucky, Kalle. You've got
very lucky.
They've got one of the best, if not the best prospects in British boxing. I love the way a manager
agent sells it to the promoter. You're very lucky. I think we're all very lucky. Moving on to another very lucky man, Dave. You've had lots of champions. How are we going to make this man a champion? I mean, is it putting yourself in a Rolls Royce and letting it drive? I think at this stage of a career, it's more like you can picture the Rolls Royce, but you gotta build it still now a bit.
So he's obviously, we all know his credentials. He's come from a fantastic setup. If not it's one of the best amateur clubs in Britain. So he's got the grounding. He's had that. Just the difference is he's got to adapt to the pro game. Pro game's a different game. Things that you can do over 3 rounds, 4 rounds, can't quite get away with doing the same sort of stuff over 8, 9, 10 and championship rounds. It's getting him used to that, but keeping his identity. Because what I love about Dan is his charisma, his personality. in the ring. He comes alive in the ring. He's a completely different kid. You know, he's a funny kid out, and he's got great personality. But in the ring, he's a showman, and it's not forced. It's just how he is. He's got elements of characters from my past. Don't forget, I grew up in that Ingle gym, where I seen showmen, I seen personalities, I'd seen people just express themselves. That's all I want him to do.
Certainly had a few in there, didn't you?
Yeah, definitely. And if you watch Dan spar, when he relaxes up and he just flows, he's brilliant. The kid's brilliant. And what I love about him is that he's taken on board. I'm not trying to reinvent the wheel. I'm just trying to take away the mistakes where he leaves himself vulnerable a little bit for when you step up. Not at this level, when you step up. And you're taking those away and you're watching him do what I need him to do and getting more professional IQ, understanding of the game, understanding of the distance, understanding of managing every second in the ring for 12 rounds, how it's going to pan out. And I'm watching him express himself, go through it, and he's sparring now with guys, with professionals that have had a lot more fights than him, and good fighters. And I'm watching what he's doing, and I'm thinking, this kid's going to be special, because he expresses himself. He doesn't get flustered. He's not one of these kids.
It takes a lot for Dave to say that as well. Special.
Yeah,
it takes a lot for him to say that. So
but he doesn't get flustered when I need him to do something and he's not quite getting it off yet. He's not one of these that jacks it because he can't do it straight away. He'll keep working it. Just try it. I don't care if he's sparring. We're in sparring to learn and to practice things. That doesn't mean you're going to get it day one. Might not get it for this fight. Might get it in 6 months' time. But he's working it. I can see him change. I see the change. Most important, forget about what I see. He's watching his spars back and he's seeing it. And that is the most important thing. Because he's seeing it. He's seeing the difference in himself. Just subtle, like I said. Normal people just think, oh, there's not much difference. It doesn't need to be much difference after 5-6 weeks. But he's seeing where he's going. He's seeing how much more relaxed he is and how at ease he's looking. But he's still got that vicious streak. And I'm still having to say, after the second round, pull back, less power, because I want that sparring again. You know, he's very good.
Again, you especially the Ingle gym, you would have you've been around both people you've trained, but also in your environment. Around many characters and names. So on the spot, pick one. What's the closest match? It could be a heavyweight.
That's a really good question.
But you see, so there's people that you wouldn't have heard of. There was a guy called light middleweight called Martin Smith, right. And he fought Rob McCracken for the British title, and he was winning the fight in the last round.
I remember.
McCracken hit him, and he snapped his ankle, couldn't get up, and he lost it. He was winning. That's what he was winning the fight. But he was one of these guys in there that when you saw him sparring, he's having fun. He's playing. Doesn't matter who he's sparring with. Good fighters, but he's playing. Obviously, Naz would always be playing in the ring and just enjoying himself. But I watch him. I see little. Again, I'm not talking about stylistic. I'm talking about charisma and showman. You'll see little bits of a Roy Jones personality coming there. You'll see little bits of a Calzaghe. You know, when Calzaghe would be enjoying his fight and he'd drop his hands and he'd be doing a little dance, a little shake. There's little bits and elements of him in it. There's a blend of quite a few different fighters. But what I'm saying is, he's a showman character. It's not false. It's not put on.
Yeah, if you meet him outside the ring as well, you see that he's not the arrogant type.
No,
he's very, very
comes alive when it counts.
He's a humble guy.
In the ring.
He's a cool guy.
Yeah,
he's not. He's someone you go for a dinner with or share social time with.
You can take him in any social setting.
Right, thank God that's over. Right. Moving on. The other big name for us coming through is of course Tom Welland. Sam, what do you know about Tom Welland?
I know he's managed by Lee, and Lee's really excited by him.
Well, Lee's excited about everything, but I would say Lee's super excited.
Lee's super excited.
In fact, Lee. Every time I see Lee in our office, until we signed him, he'd come with Tom, and so he's
he looks very young, strong. You know his last fight? I watched it in Sunderland. That fight was it was a bloodbath, wasn't it? I think it should have been stopped, to be fair. But that kind of fight is going to help him a lot more than it would do fighting somebody that's kind of basically trying to survive. Because the guy he boxed, he did try to win the fight. He was just getting some serious stick in the fight. No, he looks a really quality fight with also a good mindset.
Yeah, I was just about the mindset on the kid is phenomenal. I mean, he's obviously got the Filipino background as well. That mixed with the sort of Essex roots, it's like the Essex Filipino flash. Dave, you've seen any of him?
Do you know what? Far? I'll be honest with you, I've not seen him. I've heard a lot about him.
I've got to say, he's a talent, but he's like you said, a handful. He's also got this sort of very showman-like demeanour about
it's like
him.
He can punch a bit as well.
Yeah, he can definitely whack a bit.
Definitely punch.
But the way when you hear him talk and carry himself, he's a fantastic prospect for sure. Guys, big fight over in Saudi not so long. We've obviously talking about AJ and Ngannou. So let's call out three of these Saudi fights, and I'm going to put you on your hot seats again here. So AJ and Ngannou.
I meant to say
predict the fight.
I meant to say in one word.
One word, and then a word, and then the explanation. Though.
I'm going to have to say AJ.
Yep.
I can't believe you had to think about that.
No, listen. I'll tell you. Okay, I'll tell you why.
Well, it's heavyweights. It's heavyweights. It's heavyweights. That's what.
Right. I see it as a potential banana skin because.
Oh, absolutely.
Right. You have to give the fight jeopardy. I know Fury's mentality wasn't there, but the bottom line, Ngannou proved for bouts of that fight, he could outbox and he could box with Fury, right? He showed he has the power to hurt Fury, drop Fury. So if we've been all these people are saying that Fury's a better boxer than AJ, Fury's got a better chin than AJ, so then that tells you straight away that he has the potential to hurt AJ, he has the potential to outbox AJ.
Of course.
But Lee Wiley and Ben Davis have got 10 rounds of boxing to study now, whereas we had this element of surprise.
This is the
Ngannou.
part.
And I think now the surprise has gone. If you stack up the resume of AJ, the people that he's beaten over the years, you're not an average fighter to beat them. He's an elite level fighter.
That's what I'm saying.
So you've got to say that he should beat Ngannou. The reason why I see the jeopardy is because...
He's a big lump and he can dig.
No, forget about the big lump and he can dig. I'm on about the length of his arms. So what I'm saying is, I don't think AJ takes him out with one shot without doing damage earlier on.
I agree.
So if he's going to accumulate, right, and the best of AJ was when he was putting his punches together, right? That means that his feet are in range.
Flowing punches.
Right? So we've seen with Ngannou, he's not afraid to punch in between, right? Now, if he gets it off for AJ and doesn't think, well, actually, you don't hit that hard, I don't mind punching with you. AJ's got a range also. He's got to get in and got to get out without getting clipped. Doesn't have to be solid. Scuff on top of the head, right? Legs go, right? Against Fury, the reason why Fury didn't ever look comfortable in the fight is because Fury's used to having that range on him. The reach, pop, do what he wants. All of a sudden he's in there with a guy that's got the same length arms as him, and he's dangerous getting back out. So he didn't want to pull the trigger. So if all that's got to happen is that the first couple of attacks or early on in the fight, AJ goes into range trying to let go of his shots, and on his way back out gets clipped, do the doubts start going back into AJ's head and thinking, whoa, hang on a minute. And if Ngannou has success like he did against Fury, now he's done the 10 rounds, do you think that this time he'll be like, I know I've got 10 rounds in, mate. I'm I'm going to go for it. Because when he dropped Fury, it didn't really go for it. And it's his first experience boxing 10 rounds. So I see the jeopardy there more in the range of the size of the length of Ngannou's reach that gives AJ the problem to get back out after his attacks. That's where I see that it could be vulnerable if he doesn't get it right. So that's why I'm saying I'm going with AJ, but I see it as a real jeopardy fight. I do see it as a real fight.
It's going to be interesting to see the ring size. When you were saying that, I'm just thinking, what's the ring size on this?
I don't know.
That's going to be...
I would imagine that they'll want it big because AJ can get back to his boxing.
But contractually, negotiating, you come in, Sam, you're negotiating your guy, and you'd obviously...
Yeah, but I can imagine AJ is to be the A side in the fight, so it'll be AJ's decision what side.
Yeah, I'm guessing it.
Normal,
guessing that
20-foot ring.
Guessing that, yeah.
He might have asked for a 22-foot ring. Who knows? I think AJ wins the fight. I think. Listen, I really like Francis Ngannou. Right, really, what a lovely human being. Love his story.
Yeah,
comes from nothing, and I'm so happy he's getting paid loads of money. Genuinely, I just think that the last fight flattered him a little bit. I thought he did the absolute best, and I think Tyson Fury was not at the races. That's my opinion.
100%.
And I think that AJ is like what Dave just said, he is an elite level heavyweight. That's not a myth. He's an elite level heavyweight. He's a former unified heavyweight champion. Francis Ngannou is a big, strong. And I was about to say, he has so real long arms. And of course, there's jeopardy involved, which is the reason why this time we're thinking, there's a bit of risk involved. But I just think that AJ will chip away at him, and I think he'll eventually get him out there. But like Dave said, I do agree. I don't think he's going to knock him spark out. I think it will be a stoppage with an accumulation of shots. That's what I believe.
I think also,
but AJ wins the fight.
The stamina factor. There is and people forget this. There's such a huge difference.
Yeah,
I'm not saying UFC fighters super fit, but it's a different type of fitness.
Yeah,
and go past 6 rounds, and I totally agree with you. Tyson not at the races. If Tyson had been at the races, he would have worn him down and stopped him later.
And
in
I
the
think
fight.
that's what Tyson expected.
And that 100% what he expected. But to do that, you have to sort of put a bit of pressure on him. Mm-hmm. So I think that I think the first couple of rounds are going to be interesting.
Yeah.
I do think they'll be interesting. And then I think that AJ's class and boxing, let's say, know-how and experience and stamina will shine through.
I agree.
On that note, gentlemen, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
See you on Friday in the new Vegas of the UK, Telford.
Just about to say, we're revamping it. Telford, live on Channel 5 and DAZN around the world, Friday night. Don't miss it.
Thank you very much.